Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever felt like you were carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders? Like no matter how hard you try, life just keeps throwing one challenge after another? We've all been there, standing at the edge of uncertainty, wondering if we have what it takes to make it through. But what if I told you that the strength you've been searching for isn't something you have to create on your own? What if the power to transform your life was already within reach, waiting for you to trust it? There is something incredibly freeing about realizing that you're not in control of everything. The storms will come, the mountains will seem too high, and the path ahead will not always be clear. But here's the good news: you don't have to figure it all out by yourself. There is a greater power at work, one that sees beyond what you can see, one that knows the way even when you feel lost. The moment you stop trying to control every outcome and instead trust in a strength far beyond your own, everything changes. Fear loosens its grip, anxiety fades, and suddenly, even in the face of uncertainty, you find peace. Think about the times in your life when you felt stuck, when you couldn't see a way forward. Maybe it was a setback, a heartbreak, or a dream that felt just out of reach. In those moments, it's easy to believe that everything is falling apart. But what if instead of falling apart, things were actually falling into place? What if the delay wasn't a denial, but a redirection? What if the struggle wasn't meant to break you, but to build you? Trusting in a power greater than yourself doesn't mean life will be easy. It means you will never have to walk through it alone. It means that even when you don't understand, you can believe that something greater is at work. The strongest people aren't the ones who have all the answers. They are the ones who have faith even when they don't. They are the ones who keep moving forward, not because they see the whole picture, but because they trust that the picture is being painted in ways they can't yet comprehend. When you truly believe that you are being guided, you stop living in fear of the unknown. You start embracing the journey, even the messy parts, because you know that every detour has a purpose. So today I challenge you, let go of the need to control every detail. Trust that your life is not random. Trust that there is a purpose behind every setback and a lesson in every trial. When you surrender the weight you were never meant to carry, you will find a strength that is greater than anything you've ever known. That strength will lead you, sustain you, and transform you in ways you never thought possible. And that, my friends, is where true freedom begins. There comes a moment in life when you realize that no matter how strong you are, no matter how much you plan, control, or prepare, some battles are simply too heavy to fight alone. You push forward, trying to carry it all: your dreams, your fears, your responsibilities, your past mistakes, believing that if you just try harder, hold on tighter, or do more, you can make everything work. But deep down, exhaustion sets in. You start to wonder why, despite all your efforts, peace still feels out of reach. What if the reason you feel so weighed down isn't because you're failing, but because you were never meant to carry it all by yourself? The power that created the universe, the same power that breathes life into every moment, is not just watching over you, it is carrying you. It is moving ahead of you, clearing paths you don't even see yet, working in ways beyond your understanding. You don't have to figure out every step on your own, because there is a plan for you that is greater than anything you could imagine. Think about the moments when life didn't go as planned, the doors that closed, the unexpected detours, the heartbreaks that felt unbearable at the time. Yet somehow, you survived. You learned, you grew, and in hindsight, you can see that what once felt like an ending was actually a new beginning. That wasn't by accident. That was evidence that you were being carried all along. The moment you trust in a power greater than yourself, you shift from living in fear to living in faith. You stop striving and start surrendering. You realize that you are not alone, and you never were. There is strength in surrender. It doesn't mean giving up. It means giving in to something greater than your own understanding. It means allowing yourself to rest in the knowledge that even in the unknown you are safe. Even when you can't see the way is already being made. Life was never meant to be a burden you carry alone. It was meant to be a journey where you walk in trust, knowing that every step, even the uncertain ones, are leading you exactly where you are meant to be. There is a kind of peace that no amount of planning, controlling, or worrying can bring. It's the kind of peace that doesn't come from knowing all the answers, but from knowing you don't have to. We spend so much of our lives gripping tightly to the illusion of control, believing that if we just work harder, prepare better, or anticipate every possible outcome, We can shield ourselves from pain, disappointment, or failure. But life doesn't work that way. No matter how much we try to control it, uncertainty is inevitable, and that is exactly where trust changes everything. Imagine standing at the edge of a storm, watching the winds rage, the sky darken, and the world around you shift in ways you can't predict. The instinct is to fight it, to resist, to hold on for dear life, believing that the more you struggle, the more power you have over what happens next. But what if the real strength isn't in the fight, it's in the surrender? Not the kind of surrender that means giving up, but the kind that means letting go of the need to control every detail. The kind that whispers, I may not see the way, but I trust that the way is already prepared for me. The moment you release your grip, something incredible happens. Fear begins to loosen its hold. Anxiety starts to fade. Instead of waking up every day with the weight of the world on your shoulders, you step into a freedom that can be shaken by circumstances. The storm may not disappear immediately, but suddenly it doesn't scare you the same way, because you know deep in your soul that you are not alone. You know that there is a plan greater than your own, a wisdom beyond your understanding, a purpose behind even the struggles you can't yet make sense of. This kind of peace doesn't come from having everything figured out. It comes from trusting the one who already has it figured out for you. It's the peace that allows you to sleep at night even when life feels uncertain, the peace that keeps you steady when everything around you is shifting, the peace that reminds you that no matter what comes next, you are held, you are guided, and you are exactly where you need to be. So stop trying to control the storm. Stand in the middle of it and trust that you are being led through it. That is where true freedom begins. There are moments in life when doors slam shut, plans unravel, and dreams feel like they slip through our fingers. It's in those moments that doubt creeps in, whispering, maybe this wasn't meant for you. Maybe you failed. Maybe it's over. But what if the very thing that feels like a setback is actually a setup for something greater? What if what looks like rejection is really redirection? What if the delay isn't a punishment, but a preparation for something beyond what you could have imagined? It's easy to trust when life goes according to plan, but true trust is tested in the moments that don't make sense. When something you deeply wanted doesn't work out, the natural instinct is to feel defeated, to question why things didn't go the way you hoped. But hindsight has a way of revealing the truth, that what once felt like loss was actually grace. Think back to a time when something you desperately wanted didn't happen. Maybe it was a relationship that ended, a job you didn't get, a dream that seemed to slip away. And yet later you found yourself in a place even better than what you once wished for. That wasn't an accident. That was a greater plan unfolding. Trusting means believing that closed doors are not the end of the story. It means knowing that just because something didn't happen the way you envisioned doesn't mean it wasn't meant to happen at all. It just means there was something better ahead. You don't have to see the whole picture to believe that it's being painted in your favor. You don't have to understand every no to believe that a greater yes is on its way. What feels like a roadblock is often a detour to a destination that is far beyond what you were settling for. So the next time life shifts unexpectedly, instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this preparing me for? Because the truth is, no setback is wasted, no disappointment is meaningless, and no closed door is without purpose. The things that don't work out are often the very things that lead you to what is truly meant for you. Trust in that. Keep walking forward. Something greater is already waiting for you on the other side. There is a moment in every struggle when you ask yourself, can I handle this? The weight feels unbearable, the road ahead uncertain, and every part of you wants to escape the pain, the pressure, the discomfort. It's in these moments that doubt speaks the loudest, convincing you that you are breaking, that you are not strong enough, that maybe this is where you stop. But what if the very thing you think is breaking you is actually building you? What if, instead of being crushed by the weight of your challenges, you are being shaped by them? Growth never happens in comfort. Strength is not built in ease. Every storm, every setback, every moment of uncertainty is molding you into someone you could not have become without it. It's easy to trust when life is smooth, when everything aligns perfectly, but real trust happens when the ground beneath you shakes, when nothing makes sense, when you have every reason to give up, but you don't. Because deep down, something inside you knows that this struggle is not here to destroy you, it's here to develop you, Look at the strongest, most resilient people in the world. Do you think they became who they are because life was easy? No. They became unshakable because they faced the fire, and instead of running from it, they walked through it. Every challenge taught them something. Every setback prepared them for something greater. Every delay strengthened their patience. Every loss deepened their wisdom. And every heartbreak expanded their capacity to love. They didn't just survive their struggles, they were transformed by them. You are not meant to stay the same. Life will stretch you, break you open, and challenge you in ways you never expected. But with trust, you begin to see the purpose in the pain. You begin to understand that the things you thought would defeat you are actually the very things that are refining you. One day you will look back at this moment, the one that feels impossible right now, and realize that it wasn't breaking you at all. It was building you into the person you were always meant to be. So stand firm, keep trusting. This is not the end of your story, it is the beginning of your transformation. There's something terrifying about not knowing what comes next. We are wired to seek certainty, to crave control, to want every step of the journey mapped out before we even take the first one. But life doesn't work that way. It never has, and maybe, just maybe, it's not supposed to. Maybe the greatest things in life are found not in knowing every detail, but in trusting that even when you don't see the whole picture, the path is still being laid out for you. Think about a time in your life when things felt uncertain, when you stood at a crossroads, unsure of which way to go. Maybe you were waiting for an answer, a breakthrough, a sign that you were on the right track. And in that moment, the unknown felt overwhelming, like standing on the edge of a cliff, afraid to take the next step because you couldn't see where it would lead. But somehow you moved forward anyway. And looking back, you can see that the path was always there. It just wasn't visible until you had the courage to walk it. Trusting means stepping forward even when the road ahead is unclear. It means believing that just because you don't have all the answers doesn't mean there aren't answers. It means understanding that clarity doesn't come before the journey, it comes because of the journey. If you wait until you have every detail figured out, you'll never move. You stay stuck in fear, in hesitation, in the what ifs of life. But the moment you trust, something shifts. The fear that once held you back loses its power, and you realize that the path isn't revealed all at once. It unfolds one step at a time. Some of the greatest blessings in life come from the moments when you walked forward without knowing exactly where you were going. The friendships you never expected, the opportunities you never saw coming, the lessons you never thought you needed, all of it was waiting for you on the other side of trust. So don't wait for perfect clarity. Don't stand still because you can't see the whole journey. Take the next step. Believe that you are being led. And know that even when you don't see the way is already being made for you. Fear has a way of keeping us small. It convinces us that if we don't have all the answers, if we don't know exactly how things will unfold, then we should stay where we are, safe, comfortable, unchallenged. But here's the truth. The fear of the unknown is nothing more than a cage that keeps you from the life you were meant to live. And the key to unlocking that cage is trust. Think about how many times fear has stopped you. How many moments you've hesitated, wondering, what if I fail? What if this doesn't work out? What if I make the wrong choice? But what if, instead of asking, what if it goes wrong, you started asking, what if it goes right? What if this step leads to something incredible? What if this unknown is actually the beginning of something greater than I ever imagined? The unknown is not your enemy. It's the place where growth happens, where miracles unfold, where possibilities are born. And when you trust, the fear that once had a hold on you begins to lose its grip. You stop needing to control every outcome because you know that no matter what happens, you are being guided. You stop letting uncertainty paralyze you because you understand that not knowing the whole plan doesn't mean there isn't one. Every time you've taken a leap of faith, whether it was starting something new, walking away from something that no longer served you, or stepping into unfamiliar territory, you proved to yourself that you were capable of more than you thought. You survived moments you once feared. You made it through challenges that once seemed impossible. And every time, you were led exactly where you needed to be. That's the power of trust. It replaces fear with confidence, doubt with peace, and hesitation with boldness. So the next time you feel fear rising up, remind yourself you are not alone in this journey. The unknown is not empty, it is full of purpose, waiting for you to step into it. The more you trust, the less you fear. And the less you fear, the more life opens up to you in ways you never imagined. Keep walking forward, the best is still ahead. There is a kind of freedom that no amount of success, control, or certainty can give you. It is the freedom that comes from knowing that you don't have to have everything figured out, that you are not carrying the weight of the world alone, and that no matter what happens, you are being led exactly where you are meant to be. For so long, you have tried to do it all, try to plan every detail, predict every outcome, and make sure that nothing in your life ever fell apart. But deep down, you know that control is an illusion. No matter how hard you try to hold everything together, life has a way of shifting in ways you never expected. The relationship you thought would last forever changes. The job you relied on comes to an end. The plans you made don't go the way you envisioned. And in those moments, you are left with a choice. Hold on tightly to what is no longer meant for you, or trust that what is coming is better than what was left behind. Trusting doesn't mean life will always be easy. It doesn't mean you won't face uncertainty, heartbreak, or moments of doubt. But it does mean that no matter what happens, you will not be shaken, you will not be defeated by disappointment, you will not be trapped by fear. Because when you let go of the need to control every detail, you make space for something greater. You make space for new opportunities, unexpected blessings, and paths you never would have chosen for yourself, but that turn out to be exactly what you needed. There is power in surrender. Not the kind of surrender that means giving up, but the kind that means stepping aside and allowing life to unfold the way it is meant to. It means believing that even when things don't go according to your plan, they are still going according to a higher one. It means walking forward not with fear but with faith. So breathe. Let go of the pressure to have all the answers. Stop holding so tightly to things that are not meant to stay. Trust that you are being guided, that every step you take is leading you somewhere meaningful, and that even in the moments when you can't see the bigger picture, you are still exactly where you are meant to be. That is true freedom. And once you find it, you will never live the same way again. Life has a way of teaching us that control is not the key to peace. Trust is. You have spent so much of your time trying to figure everything out, trying to hold everything together, trying to make sense of things that were never meant to be understood in the moment. But what if you didn't have to? What if you could release the weight of overthinking, the exhaustion of trying to predict the future, and the fear of the unknown? What if, instead of clinging to what you think should happen, you could open yourself to something even greater? Look back at your life for a moment. The moments of struggle, the heartbreaks, the unexpected turns. At the time, they felt like endings, like setbacks, like unanswered prayers. But now, with distance, you can see how they shaped you, how they redirected you, how they led you to places you never would have chosen for yourself, but that turned out to be exactly where you needed to be. That wasn't coincidence. That was the evidence that you were being guided all along. When you trust, something inside you shifts. You stop walking in fear and start walking in faith. You stop living in anxiety and start living in peace. You stop striving for control and start surrendering to something far greater than your own understanding. Life becomes less about force and more about flow, less about resistance and more about receiving. You begin to see that every delay has a purpose, every closed door is protection, and every challenge is preparation for something better. This is not about blind faith, it's about real, unshakable trust, the kind that allows you to face uncertainty without fear, the kind that gives you strength even in the hardest moments, the kind that reminds you that you are never alone, never forgotten, never without purpose. Even when you don't see the way is being made, even when you don't understand the plan is unfolding, even when you feel lost, you are exactly where you are meant to be. So let go of the need to have all the answers. Step forward, not with doubt, but with confidence. The life that is meant for you is already waiting. You don't have to chase it. You just have to trust and watch as everything falls into place in ways more beautiful than you ever imagined.